Hello, everyone. So in a moment, we'll just start getting going. We'll give it a few moments while Zoom lets everybody in from the lobby, because we know it can be a little bit slow, a little bit of a delay just getting everybody into the space. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Elizabeth Anderson, and I am the Chief Executive at the Digital Poverty Alliance. We are a nationwide charity. We work with businesses, big and small. We work with government, whether that's local or national. We work with charities, communities, schools, hospitals. The list really does go on. And we do a lot of our work through two key mechanisms. One is advocacy, so really looking for long-term sustainable solutions to digital exclusion in the UK. And the other side of our work is delivery. So if it's one family at a time, helping them to get online, access devices, connectivity, skills and support. And much as I say, one family at a time, we've helped thousands of families and households over the last couple of years to access online services in a way that can work for them. So I'm absolutely delighted that our first webinar of 2025 is on unlocking access, the role of ITADs in creating a digitally inclusive UK. If you don't know what an ITAD is, I suspect you're going to find out, but it's an IT asset disposal company, and that does not mean disposing in a waste sense. What we're going to be talking about is getting devices into the hands of people who need them. So just briefly, before we really get into the content of the session, it would be great if each of our panelists today could just introduce themselves. So we've got Ken, we've got Scarlett, and we've got Anne. Could you just say a little bit about yourselves and your role at ICT Reverse?
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Hi to everyone on the call. My name's Ken Parker. I head up the compliance department here at ICT Reverse. I've been with the company for 16 years, giving my age away a little bit there. And I deal with all aspects of data security, waste management, and hopefully ensuring that everything is compliant for the stuff that we help and support the DPA with. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Taylor-Craddock. I'm a Senior Account Manager here at ICT Reverse in the corporate department. So I would be the person that you probably speak to, or one of the people on the other end of the phone if you have any questions or queries regarding disposals. I've worked for the business for 21 years this year, specialised quite a bit disposing of equipment, as Elizabeth mentioned, recycling and reusing and redeploying equipment, and I do a lot with the government bodies and then lots of other educational sectors and normal B2B businesses as well.
Hi, my name's Anne Brooke. I am a Senior Account Manager at ICT Reverse. I've been within the corporate department like Scarlett. I've been with the company for 13 years, and again, I deal with businesses throughout the UK. One of the sectors that I do deal with is housing associations primarily, and the education sector.
Fantastic. Wonderful to have all three of you here today, and great to have the support of ICT Reverse as we tackle this really important part of our mission. We've got quite a few people on the call live today. Do let us know who you are. The whole point of doing a live webinar is to get a bit of interaction going. So do please pop in the chat your name, maybe which organisation you represent if you are representing an organisation today, and perhaps just geographically where in the UK or indeed further afield you might be. If you have any questions, we will hopefully have some time during this 1 hour session to come to those. There's a little Q&A button down at the bottom of the screen here. Do use that and we'll come to those questions later on. But I'm going to kick off first of all with you, Ken. Thinking about the sort of key role that ICT Reverse play in securely refurbishing devices for redistribution. Excuse me, sorry. Could you explain a little bit about how your process supports that mission of bridging the digital divide across the UK, particularly through partnerships like ours?
Yeah, absolutely. And the most important thing to say is that obviously this is a partnership, and supporting them and extending assets life in whatever that may be is incredibly important. not just for digital inclusion, but also in terms of waste management. It's important to apply the waste hierarchy in these scenarios. And whilst people do refer to us as recyclers, we are, as you alluded to earlier, predominantly a reuse facility. So if we can reuse those devices post data erasure, then absolutely will do. It's important that we don't extend the life cycles of devices that don't qualify for the specifications of the DPA, for example, or are simply just being reused but don't qualify for what people need in terms of supporting applications or continued support from OEMs. What we try to do is to extend those lifespans by applying our standard collection procedure audit, which means record make, model, serial numbers, asset tags of our clients. Then they'll move through to our test facility, which is detection functionality, whether that be physical testing or using software. Then they'll go through to some cosmetic checks, and then they'll also go through to for asset resale or to support DPA with the included reducing digital inclusion.
Fantastic, amazing. And of course, picking out one bit there, so data security, that's often a really big concern for any organisation, or indeed individuals donating IT equipment. You know, there's a lot of information held on a laptop. Yeah. How does ICT Reverse ensure those absolutely highest standards of data erasure and refurbishment so that everyone can be really confident there's nothing left on there?
So obviously for people who are donating essentially via the DPA to us, what we do is we have our own staff that come and collect it. They're vetted to non-police personnel vetting level 3. That allows us to go into police forces, some of Scarlett's accounts. They're SC cleared with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Obviously we do all the baseline personnel checks, credit checks on all of our staff. So it's the people that are doing it that are trained, educated, understand the data requirements, and that's the process from start to finish. That's right through collection, processing, sale. And then secondly, it's the software that we deploy. And so on top of the skills that those people have, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Elizabeth, people are always the most important people in any project or business up and down the country. It's important that they understand what they're using and how to apply that. So we use third-party software to do that. We'll use Blanco, or we'll use Phone Check. And what this does is this applies a internationally recognized erasure standard, something like NIST 800 or IEEE 2883, and it provides our clients with sort of certainty that those devices have been erased in line with standards that everyone recognizes internationally, and then we'll certify them, give them certificates, and obviously that comes with indemnity insurance and everything that goes with that to make sure that the data is secure. Because we understand that some people's main concern might be their data security over the donation, but if you can do both things, obviously that's ultimately the goal for everyone, and we can reuse as many as we want. We have many certifications and accreditations. One of the main ones to really mention in there, on top of the usual ones you will see in terms of 9, 14 and 27001 in terms of ISOs, is that we are an ADISA 8.0 certified company. This is actually a UK GDPR certified scheme. So what we are allowed to do is then provide services that have been recognised by the ICO via that certification. So it means that people can get a big tick in that box, because everyone was a little bit worried when GDPR came out and the DPA 2018 came into force, and everyone was a bit like, it's a bit confusing that, sorry, not the Digital Poverty Alliance, the Data Protection Act 2018 came into force. So using a company that you know is through a certified scheme that can provide a legally compliant erasure and resale service is obviously crucial to not just people donating to the Digital Poverty Alliance, but also our customers in general.
And I mean, it is incredibly important, both from that kind of organizational data security perspective, or the people who've been using those devices, but also the people who are going to get them, to be quite honest, because as a charity, we wouldn't want to be giving out a device that's still got old stuff on it. So it's such an important element. And having these internationally recognized standards, I think it really gives that confidence, especially if we're working as well with an international organization that doesn't just need to adhere to one set of legislation. You might need to adhere to a whole
Absolutely.
plethora of different rules.
Absolutely, and different companies who will be donating or using our services will have their own internal security policies as well. So you're trying to fulfill what we try to do is set our default service level at a higher level that it tries to include all of those wants and needs from different people. And whilst that might come as a slight cost to us for doing so, we also we feel the comfort in the security that we're providing a service at that level to all of our clients, whether that be upstream or downstream.
And of course, this coming year is going to be an interesting one because, of course, Windows 10 is falling out of support. People are moving across to Windows 11, left, right, and centre. And maybe turning to a bit of your work, Scarlett. Many businesses are still, though, facing some of the constraints that relate to the residual value of laptops or other IT kit. How do you at ICT Reverse balance that and accommodate these businesses so that they can still support a charity like the DPA, but on the other hand, they're still meeting the constraints that they might have budget-wise?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Elizabeth, because, you know, it's been a tough few years for everybody, hasn't it? The answer to that question is entirely up to you guys as clients. Clearly, everybody that's on the call today has obviously huge passion for the DPA and wants to support that. So when you do dispose of your equipment, what you can physically contribute is entirely up to them. And I think that needs to be apparent all the time. So, you know, if you've got equipment, you know, get in contact with us at, you know, at the end on the Q&A, or, you know, we'll have a separate call, a separate email, we'll get some questions and we can have a look at what equipment that you have, find out what we can hopefully help generate, whether it be money-wise, to come back to you as a business, but also at the same time trying to support the DPA as well. Is there certain specs of equipment that the laptops that might help you guys that we can then put back out, you know, to these people that need them? Hope that's answered that.
Definitely, and it's really important to be able to work with all different sizes and shapes of businesses. And Anne, we've had plenty of laptops donated to us over the years. Not every device can always be reused. It might be just fundamentally broken. It might be incredibly old. We've had some real museum pieces come out the works, which is still great because there's an opportunity, you know, to get some of those materials out of them. Can you talk us through just a little bit about what does happen to a device that can't be refurbished and how you manage those assets to make sure that there's still that sustainability within the circular economy?
Yes, of course. So at ICT Reverse, we have a zero landfill tolerance policy. So nothing really goes to waste. So basically, if anything comes in that is non-working, we can take that item apart and get the bits from the item, such as batteries and screens. And if those items are working, we can then use those items to fix other laptops or fix other desktops or other screens, and therefore we can then put them back into circulation again. So we're not wasting any of that. Anything like plastics or cardboard, they will get downstreamed to the correct facilities. So everything is done environmentally correctly to the correct companies as well.
Which is so important because we know that whether it's organisations, whether it's even individuals who might have things that they want to donate, you've had this piece of equipment. It's actually been potentially quite a big part of your life. You might have taken all sorts of memories. If it's a smartphone, you might have been using it as the camera. You might have created your magnus opus on the laptop. So you don't just want to feel that it's going to get crushed. You want to feel like there's actually some longevity there.
Absolutely.
If I may interject on that as well there, sorry, Elizabeth, it's also quite important, again, I know I'm jumping in because I'm the compliance guy, but it is also important that you use an accredited company, you know, because there is the WE directive out there, and it's important that you use someone who can give you your waste carriers, using a waste carrier license, gives you your waste transfer note or your hazardous waste consignment note for those things, and it's going to a permitted facility. And if you're a producer, they're reporting your obligations to the Environment Agency. So it's important that you use an accredited company. And again, if you can engage with us, and encourage you to do so, because obviously we can do that again as part of our standard process. So it's not just ticking those security sort of boxes, it's also the waste boxes as well by using an accredited company.
Well, yeah, and I don't think, Ken, you're going to be too insulted if I say people often look at compliance and go, it's not the most exciting element, but by gum, you noticed if something hasn't been done in a compliant way, and you know, it really comes back and bites you. So compliance is incredibly important, and this is what gives people the certainty that actually this is the right way to go. You can get more life out of the device. It's
I hope
not
my
just
MD's
easy
watching.
to write
Thanks,
it.
Elizabeth.
Compliance is what matters, Craig, if you're out there. And actually, this sort of next question follows on quite nicely from what we were just talking about, because actually a lot of the time we think about this in terms of laptops, but this can happen with phones, this can happen with tablets. It's a wide range of different devices. But how does your team ensure that there's that consistency of approach across different types of device? That means we're getting as many back into the hands of the people who need them as possible, but also meeting all of those compliance needs.
Again, it's the people within the business that are specially trained in the different sectors, because as you've said, a mobile phone and how you treat that, whilst it would look to our clients and customers exactly the same in terms of the paperwork they get and their asset audit report they get, the way they're actually handled internally is completely different. They're all audited, as in we take the spec and the make and the model and things like that, but then ultimately they go in different channels. So we'll have specialist teams in each one, of mobile and tablet team. We'll have a networking server team, you know, laptops and PCs and thin clients. All these different people have got years of experience of handling those different ones. But if they provide their own experience in each of those sections, but then we have a uniform system that brings it all together, it means that the consistency of quality across all those products is kept at quite a high standard. And then secondly, it's about using sort of the diagnostic software as well. So if you someone like a Blanco or a Phone Check, they have their own software that they'll use for diagnostics, and it does things automated. It'll say on a phone, it'll do Bluetooth or Wi-Fi checks. Some stuff is semi-automated. It'll play a tone, and you can check and see whether the handset's making a tone and the speaker's working. You can touch the touch screen and see if there's any dead pixels. So what it means is that we're getting a consistency of level of product that's coming out in terms of grades. So we can keep that level at for all our buyers or for the DPA, because the DPA sets some really good specification levels for stuff to go out. What the digital property lines don't want is assets going out that within six to 12 months aren't suitable for purpose anymore. It needs to be that person, once they've got it and they're back online and we've closed down that divide a little bit, is that's closed for a significant period of time and they can access the internet and everything that they need. A very good point you made before about Windows 11. Sometimes those changes and the end of support add difficulties in terms of security and things like that to it. But these are challenges that we've got in the industry. Touching back on what Anne said earlier as well about us using parts from other stuff, that's really important as well. We deal with larger corporates, and when it's a corporate, they tend to have a number of the same model. So a good example would be 50 laptops, say, came in, and of which 40 are good, meet the specification, and we can donate them straight away, and they can go out and start doing good quite quickly. But the remaining 10, there'll be varying things wrong with them. Could be anything. Keys missing. It could be a fault on the screen. It could be a trackpad issue or something. And what we can do is, using that team of engineers I mentioned, is take parts off different ones, and it's quite unique to dealing with a corporate, that because everyone you've seen usually has their own personal laptop, but when it's a corporate, it tends to be the same model, and it allows us to bring more of those devices back to life. So you might have a balance of, say, 3 that don't work, but if you can get 47 out of 50 out there and back out to people, then that's a real success.
It really is, and I think it's such an important element, because you get these you might get these matching devices coming back, and you might look at that first report and go, boost screen, boot issue, missing buttons, and you go, crikey, what have people done to their machines that are in this state? But the fact that you can cannibalize the parts and how you can still get a number of those broken machines really back up to full working order, and every single laptop we give out is transforming lives. It's not transforming just the life of the person it goes to. If it's going into a family, if it's going into a household, you know, that has an impact on everybody within that household. So I guess there's a bit of an overarching question, which I'll probably point towards Scarlett, which is you chose to become a partner of the DPA. What motivated ICT Reverse to want to join forces with us and really advance these shared goals around addressing digital poverty?
Yeah, definitely. I think a huge, part of it is just in general that there's shocking the amount of statistics out there that, these people that don't have access to devices, we do share we absolutely share the same mission, ICT Reverse as a whole, in terms of combating the whole digital poverty. We have to, and I think the more people that are aware of it, we want to raise that awareness. I guess the COVID pandemic was quite a big highlight of that. It was crucial, absolutely crucial for people to have that the internet and them devices to stay in contact with the loved ones, but also for other things as well, whether that be, employment, education, and for that reason, we absolutely with open arms want to support DPA as much as physically possible. And we do have a huge amount of clients as well that are on currently our database that we work with consistently. So we're trying to spread the word as much as possible. Everybody on the call today, hopefully, is wanting to get on board with that, and then we can all together do it and spread the word.
And that really is so important. There's going to be people on this call who will have heard me say this more than once, but digital poverty isn't just an issue for the tech industry. There's no such thing, really, by and large, as a business that's not digital anymore. Most businesses in the UK are using some form of digital technology, and this is something that needs everybody to be taking some form of action, not sort of just looking towards the tech industry to sort this out. But tech providers such as ICT Reverse can just really provide that incredible value in terms of actually being able to take some of these concepts and do something really firm and practical to take these steps to get people the access that they need.
Absolutely. Just on that as well, I think there was the positivity of what the Digital Poverty Alliance can do in terms of the members you've got on there. You're quite unique in that you have, you've got the government involved, so you can help with the legislation of that. You've got manufacturers involved. So you're one of the few people who can speak to everyone across the journey of this asset before it gets to the people that it needs to help. So I think that was one of the things that attracted us as well, is that the chance to be able to, leverage your experience and the Digital Poverty Alliance's power in these different groups and markets and sectors. So I think that was another great factor that wanted us to be involved.
And that is great to hear, and it's something that we think is incredibly important, is the strength of the alliance that sits behind the DPA and bringing all of these different voices to the table and the different approaches and the different levers that different parts of society can pull, really. We are seeing growing awareness and growing interest in digital inclusion, which is great. We need to see more awareness and more action faster, but every step forward is fantastic. So we do think there's going to be quite a lot of growing demand around refurbishment, around being able to get devices turned around and back out to people. What challenges can maybe a ICT Reverse facing in really scaling up those refurbishment operations, and how do partnerships like ours help to address those a little?
You've touched on a great one already in terms of end of support. We totally understand why OEMs and people, that's original equipment manufacturers and people who support those operating systems have to do it. You can't perpetually support an operating system, but obviously when they come to end of line, there becomes a point where they kind of can't, we probably could, and we know they're coming up. We don't really want to put devices out there that these people, that the people who need them might not have the skill to update, even if they could hold that operating system. It then includes an education piece to them to be able to do so. So that's one issue really in terms of a challenge. Equally, some of the softwares that people put on there when they own it. So a lot of the people who do donate to us obviously quite rightly protect their information when they have it. They might put mobile device management software on there, commonly referred to as MDM software. That will allow them to partition it for staff's personal use or professional use, or remotely destroy it if it's lost, or track the device or something like that. And whilst we do inform all of our clients to take it off there when we've done it, because it sits below the operating system, something like a CompuTrace, it's very difficult for them when you reuse it, because it can go out to people, and as soon as it connects again, it can say, oh, this has got MDM software. So that's one of the challenges, and we do, Scarlett and Anne and the rest of the team do a great job in informing people that those need to come off. So that's a challenge, but again, people are trying to protect their information, and it's part of our role to educate those people before we take those devices for reuse, to say, look, we understand you've probably got these softwares, we know that they exist, here's a little sort of one page in PDF, have a look through and do this. Same sort of thing with FMI, Find My iPhone. People leave that on, they have it connected, and I understand why, because if you leave your phone at work or whatever, you feel comfortable and you feel lost without it until you can go on and go, oh, I know where it's at. But equally, we can't remove them. So if customers can't do it, and particularly in the corporate, it might be the personal employee who's put that on, but then you're asking the corporate to say, can you take this off? And that, it's not mine, it was Bob's, and then they can't do it. And then that's really unfortunate, because sometimes it just becomes a really expensive paperweight. Then yes, we can use the screen and the battery and all those sorts of stuff where possible, but it'd be good if we can really get that message across, that the most we can do and the things that you've done to protect that data, if you're then sending it to a person that's got the correct accreditations, we need to make sure they take off, so that we have the opportunity to reuse as many of these assets as we can. And if we can address these challenges, the more people we can support. So I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it win-win.
No, absolutely. And I think it's one of those quite simple actions that we can ask people to take away, is even just start socializing this concept that if you are going to be thinking about donating devices, just have in the back of your brain, take off the device management, take off the iCloud account, take off the Android account, whatever it might be. If you can do that, it just means that it's so much more likely that that piece of kit is going to end up with a child who needs it, or an old person who's trying to have health appointments, or somebody who's looking for a job. You know, it's going to get to the person who needs it.
Absolutely.
And we did start to touch on some of the environmental benefits before, and certainly we have heard from local authorities and other organisations who go, "Ah, no, we recycle our devices because that's more environmentally friendly than reuse." There you go. I don't quite think it is. But how do you at ICT Reverse, how do you balance the environmental benefits of reducing e-waste with the social impact of really supporting digital inclusion?
You've kind of answered your own question there, as if you're absolutely spot on. Recycling isn't better than reuse. Everyone's got a duty of care. If you sign a waste transfer note to take this away, you've got a duty of care to apply the waste hierarchy, get very compliant here. So you should try and move those things up. Prevention's the first one, don't get rid of it. But if you have to get rid of it, reuse is the best one. And if you're going to reuse it, why not donate it to someone who really needs it? So we don't really see them as a balancing act. We see them as almost complementary to each other. Reusing an asset in the correct, sustainable way, and then it being reused by someone that really needs it is almost hand in hand. What we do need to consider is there are other sort of consequential benefits. The raw materials needed to create something like a laptop, and all the parts of it being shipped all over the world to create it and bring it together, is about 80% of the sort of CO2 equivalent of its total amount is the creation of it. It's only about 20% in its use. So if you're reusing that device and it's not being a new one that was going out there, there's absolutely a massive saving there. The person who is donating it also is making a saving, because you can use what's called the GHG conversion factors, and you can calculate if this asset gets reused, the weight of the asset times a conversion factor, this is your CO2 equivalent saving. So we provide sustainability equipment to all of our customers as well, so they know that they can take that off any of their sort of targets, because it generally comes under your scope 3 targets and stuff like that in terms of everything else. So it means they can work towards getting those things done. On a higher level, we're doing some work around bioleaching with the local university, which is essentially using bacteria to try and recover those valuable elements out of shredded and milled PCB boards. I don't pretend to know it at a very high level, but to try and explain it at a level I understand, basically the bacteria makes it rust quite fast, and then they use electrowinning, but essentially electrolysis like you always used to do at school, to take out the copper, and then you can access the more valuable ones after that. As technologies move forward, there's less and less of these things in it because soldering and stuff's got better. But there's a lot of older devices, which you said before, you get some quite archaic museum pieces coming through. So it's good to have that route that's still good to deal with that waste. Just because it's a lot older doesn't mean it's not a problem anymore. It's just it's not a problem we haven't addressed historically. It's now today's problem that we have to deal with. So the more we can do to treat that in a sustainable and ethical way, whilst sort of managing the social impact and closing the digital divide, then, like I say, it's a really good thing to be involved with.
And it really does feel like all of that fits together incredibly well. And I love that kind of that hierarchy that you put out there, that yes, if you can keep using it yourself, then that is evidently the best thing to do. Giving it to somebody else to use should definitely be your next step. And then that environmental waste, that e-waste, electronic waste, that's the one I'm looking for, piece. It should be that kind of last bit that you look at in terms of those environmental benefits. And that's really interesting that you can even track your scope 3 emissions and the impact that you've had there through just being able to show that reuse, and where you've avoided all of these tons of carbon emissions through transporting stuff all around the world. I guess coming back around to Anne, if you're a business considering donating your tech, how does ICT Reverse's specific experience and expertise and commitment to that secure refurbishment make the process more appealing, especially if you're maybe new to donating some of your IT assets?
Okay, yes, so we have over 20 years experience within the industry, and we are recognised as one of the UK's leading ITADs. We're award winning, we've got a proven track record, and within our corporate team, we have a wealth of experience, and obviously a wealth of education that we want to educate people to what we do, because people don't know really what we do. We as a company are all in-house. We don't really use third parties at all. We've got our own logistics team, we've got our own warehouse, we've got our own compliance team, we've got our own management team. We all work together, which is really nice. So it's really easy. If we don't know what it is, we can get hold of somebody straight away, i.e. Ken, that can help us. But we deal with any company, however small they are. If they've only got one laptop, that's fine. If they've got 100 laptops, that's brilliant. You know, we don't mind dealing with anyone, and we always have a way that we can go and collect them from the customer. It doesn't have to be a certain amount, and you will be assured that all data will be erased, because anything that's data bearing that comes into our warehouse will be data wiped. And if for any reason we cannot data wipe that hard drive will be taken out and it will be shredded and shown on reports. That is one of the most security you know, what people are looking for. But otherwise, yes, we all the certification will be given for every customer that they need for auditing purposes, including data erasure certificates as well. So we're very compliant. We're willing to speak to anybody, and also we're very happy to be partners with yourselves and to help spread the word for you.
Thank you. And spreading the word is so important. There was some research, I think it was beginning in January last year, that even just showed, in terms of the words digital poverty, only 1 in 5 of the population are familiar with what that means. So it is so important that we keep talking about digital poverty, what it means, why it's important, why this is an issue that needs to be solved, and that digital access isn't a luxury anymore, not in a post-pandemic world. And Ken, I guess just sort of closing up some of our set conversation before we look to audience Q&A, and do get your questions in if you haven't already. How does ICT Reverse kind of looking forward envision a role in digital inclusion becoming a greater priority across the UK? And how do you think partnerships are going to help contribute to that vision?
We're based up in the northwest in Morecambe. Morecambe has struggled for a number of years because of it used to be a holiday town, and whilst the football team's done its best and we got an Eric Morecambe statue, everyone came up, it's really struggled since the holiday industry went away, and it has struggled as a town. But it's a town that's close to us, and I think what I'm trying to say there is that there's a lot of community-based decisions that go on, and whilst we're based in Morecambe, we support the whole UK, and we understand that some people who are based in wherever they are in the UK receive the same service from us, but sometimes they really want to champion supporting their own community. And the good thing about working and moving forward with the DPA is that they have access to all those different communities and where help's needed. So it means that it's not that it can be seen by the person who's donated, is what I'm saying. So if we deal with a company in Reading, there's probably somewhere that the DPA can help someone in that local area, and you can feel that that's really close to where you're at. Because whilst it's great to support everyone nationally, sometimes it's nice to just see that I've helped someone in my local area, because you can see it's tangible. So I think that's a really popular thing amongst us, and what we want to do in terms of moving forward. We want to see if we can try and get some more devices out there. Devices tend to be having a bit more power now than they used to be in terms of what they can do operating wise. So whilst there might be support for certain things like tablets and stuff like that, just to get people online, let's see if we can get some of them out more than we used to. And I think basically we just want to align our service, maintaining all its great data security and waste management and sort of management information for our clients, but align that with the visions of what DPA want to achieve, which I think we can do, mainly because of the partnerships and the great work that DPA is doing, because it makes it so easy. And if these things are a challenge, people think twice. But if it's done to a level where I want to do it and it doesn't impact what I do as my core service provision, then I think people are more willing to support it. And I think that's a real great piece of work that the DPA should be very proud of, and we're happy to support it.
Thank you, Ken. And we're delighted to be able to work with you and your various teams to be able to make this a reality. And that it's a really important point actually that you made there at the start. We entirely recognise that organisations, whether you're a local authority, whether you're a business, whether you're anywhere in between, often you do want to support your own, you want to support local people, you want to be able to see that impact. And that might be for a whole range of reasons. It might be attached to your procurement or your reporting or other elements that you need to be able to demonstrate. Or it might just be that you want to feel you've helped your own immediate community. And either of those, anywhere in between, both of those are really good reasons. And it's something that we are absolutely committed to. If somebody says, I'm in Great Yarmouth and I want these laptops to go back out in Great Yarmouth, that is what we will do. We won't just sort of put them in a big pool and go, you'll never hear from us again. We'll help you actually understand what the impact was within the area that you chose to support. We do have some questions coming through from those who are online and watching live today. If you are watching live today, about time. So I'm going to do asks, and I think this is a question more for ICT Reverse around how you make contact with larger corporates. So they're particularly suggesting some of the big utility companies, for example, but how do you look to become partnered with organisations to be able to get laptops back out into the community?
Numerous ways is the answer. Depends on the size. As Anne said, we deal with everyone from one laptop at Billy Butcher's all the way up to really, really large corporates and utility companies. They come out in all manner of ways. They can come through closed bids, they can come through tenders. But a lot of that is built on relationships that the corporate team have. And I know Anne's been with us 13 years, is it, Anne? Scarlett, 20 years. So, and I think Anne's one of the babies in the room in terms of duration in there. So they've built up relationships with some companies for a long time. So providing a service that we've got is crucial that it's done right, because should that, God forbid, touch wood, there was every data breach, that will be it. So we need to make sure that our service level is so high that when we do provide those services to people, that they then tell other people. We picked them up from clients moving in terms of to other roles, but also it's just on hard work and going out and seeing people. It's just your marketing. We've got an in-house marketing department that do a lot of great work speaking to people. They do a lot of great work advertising the DPA as well. So there's an all manner of ways of us trying to get business, but equally, sometimes it's nice if you can get on a call like this and some people write to you and say, can we use your service? Spot the plug.
And I think with some irony, my internet connection is cutting out, but I think, Ken, you just concluded that answer. It's a wonderful opportunity for everyone to experience digital exclusion briefly when their internet connection just drops in the middle of a webinar. Really a quite related question coming from James as well is what more can be done to really press IT teams to address their own risk aversion, apart from talking about the standards of data hygiene, but with the ITAD worlds moving in the direction of an expectation, particularly on public bodies and local authorities, to be compelled to donate their IT. So I suspect you can't really speak to the compulsion part, but dealing with that risk aversion, what else can we do?
We find generally people in IT tend to be hoarders. We get the full spectrum of here is a really detailed asset register with asset tags. We know exactly what's coming out. You know exactly what weight it is. You know exactly the size vehicle we need to send to pick it up, right down to here's a picture of a room. Can you come and pick all this stuff up that's piled up in the corner? And that's not just based on small businesses and medium and large. That is right across, and you'd be surprised. So what I would say is, particularly IT teams, and they're a great bunch because they keep us up and they keep our businesses going and they save us on a daily business when things go wrong. But they tend to then keep things just in case something goes wrong. And maybe you don't really need to keep that computer with that hard drive in a desk in your back office. Really, it probably wants to get treated. And if there's a reason it's sat with you, it's probably wanting to come out. So what I'd say is let's get those things picked up and treated properly off your address register, get it certified, that it's done, and then you've got the peace of mind that you know it's gone. Secondly, a lot of people tend to have internal security policies that just get updated, and they just version control it up to the next one. And the problem is, over the last few years, as data's changed away from magnetic hard drives to solid state to flash to NVMe and all those different ones, the erasure standards and what you have to do with things have changed. And I think sometimes if they want to reach out to us, we can talk to people and help them with those policies a little bit and say, you know, you're still quoting this really old shredding standard of BNES 15713. Maybe you should look at something more modern. And we can say, oh, we'll still do it to that standard if you want, but we can try and bring them up. So I'd say that two of the challenges that we get in terms of trying to get those assets out and treated and done so that we can donate them, because sometimes they're saved for a rainy day that never comes.
And I think that probably applies to most of us. I think we've all got a phone or a laptop or something in our drawer that we're keeping because we quite liked it and it might be useful one day. But it could be so useful to somebody right now if we could get those out of cupboards and drawers and through people like ICT Reverse, cleaned up, looking good, working well, and back to people who need them. Stephanie has come forward with a really important practical question about warranties. So is there a warranty period, she asks, for the DPA for the device, and then how does that get passed on to the end beneficiary? Don't know who's best placed to answer that one.
Probably you can, actually.
So our assets, when they come out from the DPA, I think they go through and they get re-imaged with yourself. So obviously when they come out, they're fully data wiped. So obviously there's nothing but maybe a blanco splash screen on there. So they get I think they get re-imaged with the certifications by the DPA, and then they go back out. So I think that it will have some support from that upload with the certifications. In terms of a warranty, obviously this isn't a sale. We're not selling the device to the person. We're all as a collective trying to support that person. So we're not going anywhere. The DPA isn't going anywhere. So things are electric and they do go wrong occasionally, but equally just talk them back and we can either repair it, we can send out a new device. It's really difficult to provide a warranty on something that you're donating and ultimately you don't know the exact person that's got it. But there is absolutely communication channels right through all the members and advocates that are in DPA to all those people that we can provide support. I know that's not a definitive answer, but I think it provides some comfort that obviously we're here to help. It's not here's a laptop. You know, we've got to be of the correct specification. It's got to have the right image on it. It's got to be right for the person, and it's got to be right for the right correct amount of time. And as I say, we'll be here certainly for the foreseeable and help anyone out who needs so.
And I think certainly from our side, and a little bit sort of what I thought Ken was possibly going to say. So sometimes it is true, a device will arrive with somebody and it won't do what it needs to do. Maybe that is something that's happened during postage. Maybe it's something that somehow hasn't been checked. Mate, that also happens with new devices, that sometimes they're absolutely pristine and they don't do what they need to do when they get there. Commonly, it'll be something like a missing driver that doesn't work with the Wi-Fi router that's in the house or something like that. We at the DPA, we will never leave somebody with a device that doesn't work. So point one, we'll get people to send it back in. Sometimes we'll get that repaired and the same device back out. Quite frequently, it'll be a replacement device that will go back out to that family, and then that defective device will come back in. That'll get repaired, and once we're absolutely definitely sure it's working, then that will be used for somebody else. But we never leave somebody with a machine that doesn't work. And as a bit of a standard for ourselves, we look to sort of adhere to that for about 6 months. Evidently, sometimes it's difficult when the user sort of is fairly open that it's been trodden on. That was a genuine one that we had. The device has been trodden on, can you replace it? Yeah, that's not really a defect, is it? But on the other hand, we know that life happens, particularly when you've got kids in a household who probably haven't had access to this kind of thing before. And to them, it seems like this really rugged bit of kit. So yes,
We've had some quite innocent ones as well, Elizabeth, where they've got a certain Bluetooth headset that they're using, but that laptop doesn't support that age of Bluetooth headset, and then you have to try and do your best to try and get something that works, because you can set levels and specifications, but everyone's unique and everyone's got their own needs, and using their own, it could be that the type of keyboard they're using is a different connection, or anything it can be. So it's not just a functionality issue. I think it's important to say that we're trying to support them to get everything that they need. So yeah, they can get trodden on. Yes, they can go wrong, but equally it can be a totally unique variable of what they're using that, again, we will always try and do our best to support.
Absolutely. And then Kevin's asked a question. I'm really excited about Kevin's question because this didn't come up. So I'm delighted that we're able to talk about this a little bit. So as he points out, one of the problems with older Windows laptops is that they are, and this is very much Kevin's language, not mine, so slow. And of course, installing Chrome OS Flex can turn them into fast browsing devices. So you can use Workspace, you can use Office Suite, you can use Zoom, you can use Teams in the browser. OS Flex, as Kevin goes on to point out, means more donated machines can be repurposed and that'll last much longer. Is this something you do? So I am excited about this because yes, it is something we are doing, and it's something that we're talking to you guys about, is how you can specifically support us with this one. But we've been delighted to actually have some of the sticks, the magic sticks, sent to us by Google to allow us to distribute these and start the process of turning those Windows 10 machines, and indeed older, into Google Chrome Flex. So watch this space, because it's going to be one of our big things for this year. I don't know, Ken and Scarlett, whether any of you want to comment on that, but I'm
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's absolutely brilliant. But it's not just though that it'll continue its use. There's loads of clever stuff with that as well. It can help with your battery life by turning certain things off, and the fan down, and there's lots of cool things it can do in terms of making a device that's slightly older, and not just those facilities. It's a fantastic solution. So I'm glad that you're using it. I wasn't actually aware until you just told me then. So that I'm really chuffed about that. That's great.
No, it's such a clever solution, and we can but hope that there's going to be at some point something similar that would come forward for phones and tablets as well, because that would just be amazing. And then our final question: how do the DPA distribute devices to people in need? And so this feels very much more for me than for any of the guys from ICT Reverse. We have a number of programs that we run up and down the country. And when I say the country, I do mean England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. We work all across the UK, where people can apply to us for a device. Now, evidently, we cannot provide a device to absolutely everyone in the UK who might need access, which is why we have these set programs. But we are getting more and more machines coming through, which means we can help more and more people. The applications for those are either online, if people do have access to a smartphone in their household, or if they are perhaps working with a family worker, maybe they go to the library, maybe they work with a community group and they can use a device to do that application, or they can text us and we will post them out an application form. Or in some cases, a couple of our programs you can actually refer people into. So if you are a professional who knows that there is somebody, perhaps a young carer in Cambridgeshire, which is one of our programs, who needs access to a device and they won't be able to apply themselves, you can do that referral for them, and then they just verify some of their details and agree to the terms of the program. We will share in the chat a little bit more about some web links where you can find out a bit more about that. And we are going to be opening up in some new areas later on this year as well. So that is all going to be exciting. If you are aware of people who are in need and there isn't a programme running in your area at the moment, do always contact us through the website and we'll make sure that we sort of add you onto that list. I can see there's also been just a follow-up question about any open programmes for voluntary organisations and individuals in London. In London, we are working in a few areas at the moment, places like Ealing, places like King's Cross, places like Kensington and Chelsea. So drop us a message through the website and we'll link you up with those, because we've been doing donation programmes and now we're going to be getting them back out to the people who need them. Thank you so much for coming along to today's webinar. I'm going to turn to the panelists in just a couple of minutes for a sort of 10-second sound bite to leave you with. So they've got a good 90 seconds to think what that sound bite is going to be. Before we wrap up, if you like what we do, maybe this is your first time at a DPA webinar, do make sure that you've visited digitalpovertyalliance.org and you've signed up for our newsletter. Do follow us on social media, especially LinkedIn, if you happen to be on that platform. Please do think about what action you might be able to take, whether that's signing our charter for digital inclusion, looking at some of the actions in our national delivery plan, and particularly thinking about whether you might be able to make a gift of devices or indeed funding. But if you have devices that you know are sitting in a room, and they could be instead sitting with a family, please do get in touch either with us or indeed with Scarlett or Anne or Ken, and we will make sure that we can work with you to get those to the people who need them. And if you've got particular parameters around that, places, ages that you want to support, let us know and we will work with you to make that happen. Just as we wrap up then, I'm going to come to Ken, Anne and then Scarlett just for that little wrap-up sound bite to leave our audience with today.
Firstly, thank you so much for your time, guys. I know it's time out of everyone's day to come and listen to me drone on about ICT Reverse, but the message is really important. However you can support the Digital Poverty Alliance, whether it's through us or whether it's a corporate membership with them or advocacy, as Elizabeth just said, please do everything you can. And if you do need some support, get in touch. And I'm pretty confident the guys at DPL will be able to do that for you.
Yes, hi guys, thank you for joining today. If you have anything at all, any questions, please contact us. It's so important if you've got laptops there that are holding data that you're not using, any mobile phones, anything like that, please call us, please get them in and we can then start donating to the DPA.
I feel like I don't really have to say anything else to post it for me. No, but thank you. It's been great. If I mean, Ken, I know you've got the keyboard on your machine there to put the main number down. If you want to give us a call, do so on that.
Elizabeth is very good. It's already in the chat.
Is it? That's all right.
Yeah.
We can't see our hours, unfortunately. But yeah, alternatively, drop one of us an email, and we can hopefully go from there. And yeah, thank you for listening. Really appreciate it.
Amazing. Well, thank you everyone who's joined us today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're watching this later, please do let us know if you need any of those contact details. And a big thank you to Ken, Anne and Scarlett, both for your time today, the insights that you've shared, and also to the wider team at ICT Reverse for your wider support, both for the DPA's mission and also your support as an industry forum member of the DPA. We're really proud to be in partnership with you guys and looking forward, hopefully, to lots of contact coming off the back of this webinar. So looking forward to working with everyone who's been listening too. Thanks a lot and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Bye. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Bye.